You know that feeling, right? Someone likes you. I mean, they really like you. They praise you, they chase you, maybe they even seem a little obsessed. But deep down, something just feels off. It's this strange, hollow feeling of being adored, but not actually seen. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. So, let's get into what's really going on here.
This quote just, wow. It hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Because that's exactly what it feels like. When someone falls for this fantasy version of you, not the real, complicated, messy, amazing human you actually are, it can feel incredible at first. Who doesn't want to be adored? But that feeling starts to fade pretty fast when you realize you've been cast in a part you never even auditioned for.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning with what we're calling the perfect illusion. This is that first heady rush when someone puts you way up on a pedestal. And look, it feels amazing up there, but it's also a really unstable place to be. And that hollowness you feel, yeah, there's a very good reason for that.
This is really the heart of it all, isn't it? That gap between the person they think you are and the person you know yourself to be. It's exhausting trying to keep up that performance. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the key signs that tell you someone might be in love with the idea of you, not the real you.
All right, so how can you actually spot this? Let's dive right into the signs of what we're calling surface love. These are the red flags that someone's fallen for an idea they've cooked up in their own head. And the first one, it's probably the most common. Okay, sign number one. You know the one, the whirlwind romance. It's so fast, so intense, it feels almost too good to be true. They get attached like instantly. You've had maybe one or two real conversations, and suddenly you're hearing things like, you're perfect, or you're everything I've ever wanted. So, what is actually going on here?
Well, the psychological term for this is idealization. And what that really means is they're not seeing you. Not really. They're seeing a blank screen and they're just projecting all their own hopes, their own fantasies, their own unmet needs right onto you. They're falling in love with a movie they've created and you just happen to be the star. And here's how this actually shows up in real life. They're calling you perfect almost right away. After just one chat, they're saying you're everything they've ever wanted. The whole thing feels super intense, right? But it's also missing something. There's no real emotional depth. It's like a rocket ship taking off, but it's built on a foundation that's as fragile as a house of cards. All right, on to sign number two. And this one can be a little tricky. They admire you, but do they know you? Like they notice your cool job, your great sense of humor, your talents, but do they know what you're afraid of, what you doubt about yourself, what keeps you up at night? You see, there's a massive difference between admiring someone and truly understanding them. Here's another way to put it. They're connecting with your presentation, not your person. They love the polished version of you, the one you put out into the world. But the messy, complicated, real stuff, they're not so interested in that. It's like they're standing outside a house, admiring the paint job, but they never ever step inside to see what it's really like. And this leaves you feeling, well, a few things. You feel admired, but you don't feel understood. You feel like you're being watched, but not truly seen. And worst of all, you start to become afraid. Afraid to show your flaws, because you think it might just shatter that perfect image they have of you. So let's talk about the real cost of being put on that pedestal. Because, let's be honest, you can't stay up there forever. You either fall off or you completely exhaust yourself trying to stay put. This is where we pivot from looking at their behavior to how it really starts to impact you. Sign number three. You hear things like, you're so easygoing, or I love how low maintenance you are. Sound familiar? On the surface, they're compliments, right? But underneath, they can feel like a trap, like pressure. Because when someone only praises the parts of you that are convenient for them, you can't help but wonder, can they handle the rest of me? And there's actually a psychological theory that helps explain this. It's called object relations theory. And basically, it suggests that some people really struggle to see a person as a whole. For them, you're either all good or all bad. So the second you stop being that easygoing, low-maintenance person, their perfect image of you shatters, and poof, they pull away. And all of this leads to sign number four. You start hiding your own needs, just to feel lovable. You bite your tongue. You want to be honest, you want to say what you really need, but you don't. Because you have this gut feeling that the moment you become too much or too difficult, all that affection could just vanish.
This whole dynamic has a name. It's called conditional acceptance. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that feeling that you'll only get love and affection as long as you fit into this very specific, very agreeable little box. So you start to shrink yourself to fit. You smooth over your real feelings. You smile when you're uncomfortable. And bit by bit, that just chips away at who you are. You know, the author Dr. Gabor Mate talks about this. He says we learn to trade our authenticity for attachment. Think about that. We give up parts of our true selves just to feel connected to someone. We hide what we really need to keep the relationship safe. But when you do that, you're slowly abandoning yourself. And that's not love, that's survival. Which brings us to sign number 5, and honestly, it might be the most painful one. You feel adored, but you also feel completely and utterly alone. It's such a lonely place to be, isn't it? Because on the outside, it looks perfect. You're getting attention, but there's no real connection. You're getting affection, but there's no real intimacy. They love your highlight reel, but who's there for the rest of the story? For the messy, complicated, beautiful truth of who you are. Okay, so this can't last forever, right? It all builds up to a breaking point because fantasies are fragile things. And you know what the number one thing is that shatters them? Your own personal growth. This is sign number 6. The moment you start to grow, they start to pull away. Maybe you start therapy. Maybe you start setting some real boundaries. Maybe you just start speaking your mind a little more. And right when you're becoming more you than ever, they get distant. And why? It's simple. Your growth shattered their illusion. They didn't fall for a real, evolving person. They fell for a photograph. And please hear this. This is not a failure on your part. In fact, it's a sign of your incredible strength. You start speaking up. You set those new boundaries. You become more authentically you. And then the illusion shatters. When you grow, you basically give them a choice. Step up and have a real relationship, or retreat. And if they retreat, all that means is that you've outgrown the tiny cage they tried to keep you in. So, where does that leave us? Well, it's about making a shift, a big one. It's about moving from performance to presence. It's about stopping the endless effort to earn love and starting to look for a connection where you can just be. And really, it all boils down to this comparison. Fantasy love is about being admired. Real love is about being understood. Fantasy is being observed. Real is being seen. It's conditional versus authentic. It's the difference between a performance that gets you applause and a presence that creates a real, genuine connection. And here's what I really want you to take away from all this. Wanting to be fully seen is not asking for too much. It's the bare minimum. It's asking for something real. The right people, they won't be scared off by your complexities. They'll be fascinated by them. They won't fall in love with a fantasy. They'll fall in love with your whole, entire, beautiful story. The good parts, the messy parts, all of it. So I'm going to leave you with this one final question to think about. Take a hard look at your relationships and ask yourself this. Are you being loved or are you just being cast? You don't need to perform for love. You just need to be yourself and trust that the right kind of love will meet you exactly where you are.